Well, I've got a problem. And it's not that this time. No, it's this insane array of devices that I've got, and is continuing to build up over time, including one of the first SBCs, I think the first SBC I ever bought. This is one of the original Banana Pi M1s. So it's been running, what is that running? I'm pretty certain that's currently running Pi-hole for me, and has been for some time as a Docker container. So I've got that one. I've then got this Raspberry Pi, and this is running Home Assistant for me, not as a Docker container, but it uses Docker itself, of course. I've then got this old busted Unifi cloud key that's of course that's running Unifi for me, and now I want to add Frigate to the mix because I've moved house and I've set up some security cameras. I think Frigate's the way to go, and I can also use the RK and PU extensions to make better use of it. But that means I need more storage. I should probably consolidate it. I'm going to want more LAN ports. I might want to add Wi-Fi. It should be all in one Docker environment. I'm probably going to need some redundancy too, and things turned into a problem very, very suddenly, and I had to do some digging. This is that journey of what I've found so far, the hurdles that I've faced or am still facing, what my next steps are going to be, and a bit of a plea for your input because I am struggling with this one a bit. So let's get into it. Now, before we go too far, I'm about to hit 10K subs, and that's bloody awesome. So I just wanted to thank all of you for that. I don't know if I'm going to do anything different 10K. I considered doing something different, but I don't know. But, you know, that's kind of pointless. It's not really relevant to this video. What is the sponsorship from PCBWay. They do some cool stuff. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. What we'll get onto first, though, is some of the other carrier boards that I've been looking at. So, Waveshare, whose products I stock and use, do make a few different carrier boards, which are quite good. They make one which is a CM4 to Pi 4 carrier board. This one is their IO board base B. So it's got, you know, camera ports, your Pi 2 header, Ethernet, USB, HDMI, and you got one little M.2 slot on the back. Now this is getting close, an SD and RTC. This is getting close to what I need, but only one M.2 is a little bit lackluster. My concern there is I want to have two M.2 NVMe drives raided. I want to have that redundancy there because I'm going to put so much information in one spot. That's a single point of failure. So this isn't going to do it. The next option, which I was considering or have, is this bad boy. So I'm not sure if you saw a previous video where I had a bit of an introductory look at this, and see ya. And I'm still meaning to get back to it. But this is the Super 6 carrier board. It's actually quite awesome. So of course it takes 6 CM4s, and on the back, if I was to unscrew this, you can see it in my other video, there's 6 M.2 slots. But again, the issue is, whilst this does have, you know, more redundancy and options and is really, really awesome, like DeskPi makes some great products, and thanks again for their support, I can't RAID the M.2s because each M.2 is for each each carrier board. So this is kind of out of the option. To give them credit, I haven't actually had a look to see if DeskPi make something that has what I want. And that's because I did find something else. I will have to go and have a look probably after this video just to give them the benefit of the doubt. But during my hunting, what I did find was Geekworm or Subtronics. I'm not sure what their actual name is, but they make the X1500 amongst other things. And when I saw this, I kind of just instantly bought it and really didn't read enough about it or think much into it. So this is the Geekworm X1500, and I got this for kind of the obvious reason so far. It takes a compute module, it's got some ports, and it's got dual M.2, which I thought was really cool. But it's turned out a little bit more of a problem than I ever expected. Don't get me wrong, this is a very awesome and very well-made board, but it's not exactly what I'm looking for still, and I'm kind of going insane. Before I go any further, I do also want to ask you to like and subscribe this video. Like it if you're into it. If you're not, don't like it. Leave a comment if you want to contribute or if you have any feedback. But if you'd subscribe, that would be awesome. You're obviously watching it, and it really, really helps the algorithm. And only something like 15% of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. So if you could hit that button, hugely appreciate it. If not, well, your loss. Moving on. You can see here that Geekworm actually have a few different options. So this one that I got, 45 US, is just the dual M.2 carrier board. They've then got ones with dual Ethernet. They've got ones with additional interfaces. They've got one which is, oh, that's the PoE hat. You've got the big one for some fanless something or other. I'm not sure what the deal is. And of course, they've got a Waveshare board. So I got the X1500 because I figured this will just do what I need. It supports two M.2s. It supports a CM4/CM5. USB-C looks great. It's, you know, cheap as chips. Stick it in the basket, order it, and then of course it turns up. And all is well and good. And whilst I was at it, I thought I'll also get myself this sexy little case that it comes with, because I figure these would be super handy to have. And I got started. So the first thing I did was actually grab one of my now missing Luckfox carrier boards. It'll be up here. Sorry, compute module. I really like these Core 3566, and the reason I went for this first is, of course, it's Rockchip. So it's got the RK NPU, which I know Joshua Reich's Ubuntu images support. That's going to help Frigate and whatnot. So we've got our 100-pin B2B connectors. That all looks well and good. And you simply crunch that on there as you're used to with, you know, CM4 modules. And that should be good to go. So booting it up, we'll see what happens. Let's grab some HDMI in there, the top port in this instance. And we're gonna need some power. So I've got my trusty USB-C cable. And if everything is as we need, we should just be able to go to that one, plug it in, and no, I've got no PD triggered for some reason. I have encountered this a fair few times, so what I'm doing is just moving the USB cable to a 5-volt USB Type-C interface, and now you can see there is a little light on, and of course it's booting. So first minor hurdle I've come across is that for whatever reason the PD doesn't always trigger, at least not with my my Pi 64 Pine Power, the desktop power supply that I've got. But we can work around that. That's okay. That's connected and that's booting up now. So what I want to do is plug in my keyboard and mouse dongle over here, USB 2 ports, and we'll go back to the HDMI input. But as you can hear, the mouse isn't working, keyboard's not doing anything. So I've just hit, that's the power button. Problem number 2, that's a big ass power button, and when you're trying to grab the thing, it's right in the way. Let's try again, put it in a USB 3 port this time, and we'll go back and see what's happening. There we go, it's booted up, and still got nothing. I've got no USB interfaces that work. So that is a tad annoying, and I can probably get away with not needing them, but that already leads me to think that I'm going to have problems using these M.2s. And the reason for that is their documentation is a little bit lackluster. If we go to their wiki, you can see they do have initially some really, really good details in here. And this got me excited. It really does go into it in a fair bit of detail as far as the specs. But then when you get to the hardware documentation, this is pretty much all you've got. It really doesn't tell you much. Same goes for the software. All it says is to enable the PCI interface if it's not there, and then, you know, setting it up with a Raspberry Pi. There's not much going on about, you know, all the actual functionality of what it can do. And yes, I know it is fairly straightforward, but you know, if there was some troubleshooting for the USB ports or some details of what you might want to enable for other boards, that would be great. There also isn't much information just on using all of the peripherals with this board, which could definitely be added. So I kind of immediately thought, this isn't ideal. This isn't what I want. It's so bloody close. And I could probably mess with the Luckfox SDK a bit to get it working, but also the Core 3566 is using an older Rockchip SDK, so it only has Debian 10, and I'm not a fan of that. So that is not the solution. What is a good solution though is PCBWay, and I just want to quickly let you know that you can still get $5 off your first order if you use my link below to sign up to PCBWay. It's completely free and they don't just do PCBs. They also have a module store with heaps of awesome stuff, and they do heaps of CNC machining and 3D printing with more materials than I've seen anywhere else. If you do like PCBs though, if you're a tinkerer like me, they're, whoops, clicked it. They're also doing free purple solder mask until the end of this month, which isn't long, but I thought I'd mention it because it looks sexy as hell. I've also just ordered some of my gift rulers in purple. So for people that are ordering from my shop, which is shop.plati.ma, US orders will be turned back on hopefully this weekend now that that issue is resolved. But a free ruler gets thrown in with every order, and that ruler is made by PCBWay, and so that ruler will be purple for now. Limited edition, never happening again. But thank you to PCBWay for doing these awesome, for providing these awesome services and for supporting this channel. Go check them out, create the free account. It helps me and it costs you nothing. Now, getting back to this boy. This is where I just thought, you know what? I'll order a Raspberry Pi. I'll actually bite the bullet and go and get one of those things and a heatsink for it. And at this point, I'm just getting a little bit annoyed. Hence, I have a problem. Hang on. So good. So I've got this Raspberry Pi Compute Module 5, and I thought I'd get the model that is pretty much maxed out. I think this is the one that's got like 16 gig of RAM. Yeah, and 64 gig eMMC, because all right, this can run all my Docker containers. Let's get crunching. So slap that on there, and then go and grab some of these, and you put them in here, and you hope for the best. But what I didn't realize is this doesn't actually come with an image on it to start with. So you've got to flash the image, which means back to the documentation to find out that you've got to jump these two pins to put it in boot mode. Now it does support the USB download in the boot mode, which is really good, but a button, there's some space right there, or wherever you want, a button would be really handy. So take some of this button, because that's too much button, and make another button for the boot mode. Most other things actually have that. But what I've done here again is kind of jumped the gun. I've bought this compute module and I've actually set it up and I've got it working now, but I didn't consider two major things. One, there are known issues with the Raspberry Pi CM5 and certain PCIe devices, specifically NVMe SSDs. Now that bit me because these are the two 256 gig NVMe SSDs that I wanted to use with this, but neither of them was detected, and it took me quite a while of troubleshooting to find out it's to do with the controller that's used on them. So I went and got these two, and you know, I might even have this backwards now. These might be the two that don't work, but I had to go digging around and buy some cheapies to get it working. So I didn't consider that, and that cost me a day and wasted some of my money. The other thing that was just dense on my part is this has no NPU. It's actually quite a problem. I could get that Halo or whatever it's called and add that to it, but that's a whole nother pile of money, and it's not using the RK NPU platform that I'm actually familiar with. So I spent a bucket load of money on a compute module from a brand that I don't actually normally use, and whilst it does mean USB ports work and, you know, some NVMe drives work, I'm still just left with my head in my hands, annoyed at this situation. It should be easier. So at the moment, I think I've got two options left. And if we jump back to the computer, of course, one of them is going to be Radxa. They do make some CM5 products. If we go to here and we look at the, am I losing my mind? CM5, there we go. They have this awesome CM5 with an RK3588 S2. So that's octo-core, big and little. It's got a 6 TOPS NPU. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. Except the problem I'm seeing here is it's actually got the 3-pin B2B connector. So this has different interfaces exposed than the Raspberry Pi CM5 connector. That's a little bit frustrating. So it means I'm probably not going to get everything. And of course they do have their own CM5 IO board, but of course it doesn't have dual M.2s. So this is still not a solution, and I'm getting annoyed, if you can't tell. I'm frustrated. I thought this would be something that has for sure been solved by now. The one thing I can think of is maybe using this E-keyed connector and using their expansion hat. And I think they show that in one of the images, but I could use that connector which supports PCIe to go to a PCIe breakout and then add NVMe ports there. But that is getting complicated. It doesn't have a case. I'm going to have shit dangled everywhere. So I guess Orange Pi is an option. If I can even access their website. Yeah, it's loading. They've got similarly some compute modules, as you can see here, which I've looked at before, and does have that same 3-pin or 3 times 100 pin B2B connector. It's Rockchip, it's 3588S. It is gonna do what I want as well, but it still comes back down to the carrier board. And they sent me their carrier board. I demonstrated that. Doesn't have dual M.2. So I'm left wondering, what am I supposed to do? Should I give up dual M.2? Should I have external storage? I don't need it to be fast. It's not reading and writing a huge amount, but ideally having the storage included would be good. Should I simply have it back the storage up somewhere else? I don't actually know, but ideally I want something that can host a CM4 or CM5 that has gigabit networking and dual M.2s ideally. It'd be nice if it was slightly more refined than this. This is an excellent product, but it feels like they didn't do much, end user testing or much, beta launch and let people try it out, because there's a few improvements there. I then want a compute module that's compatible. So whether that's 2 sets of pins or a 3rd set of pin added, I also want that to have some sort of NPU built in. Ideally RK3588, 3576, somewhere in those lines, as long as it supports 5.15 or higher in Linux. But I don't know what to do anymore. This is set up and working right now, running all my containers with the Raspberry Pi. This thing's at like 100% CPU all the time though, because I don't have that offloading for Frigate to actually do the image processing. So I want your help. What can I do? What are the options gonna be where I can replace all of these things with just one thing that's actually gonna work and run my house? What do you think? I would love your input. That's about all I've got for this video. It's not an overly complex one, it's just my journey thus far. I would love any questions and suggestions you have. So if you want to know why I'm running certain things or why I'm trying to achieve it, feel free to ask me below. But if you have any input, if you've seen a carrier board that can do what I want, let me know. If you make a carrier board, if you're a company like DeskPi or Geekworm and you've got something, even if it's beta for me to try out, send it to me. I'll try it out and I'll let you know. Now, on that note, Geekworm, I would love it if you could make some improvements. I don't know what the issue is with power delivery. That button at least just don't hang over the front of it. Add a boot button and maybe improve your documentation. That would be really, really handy. And I'm not sure what's up with your PoE, but apparently Power over Ethernet doesn't actually work yet. Please fix that. You're making great products though, so do keep up the great work and please take that as constructive criticism. The rest of you all also make great products, except maybe you're annoying. That's why I don't sell you or use you much. And DeskPi, as I said, Super 6C. I'm going to go have a look and see if you've got anything else that will suit me at the moment. But thank you for coming along. I really appreciate your input. Don't forget to check out PCBWay and use the link below to sign up if you haven't yet. It really helps me. Hitting subscribe and like and leaving a comment always helps the YouTube algorithm too. Also, a very, very special thank you to my patrons. So I do have a Patreon account. It's slowly growing. You don't want to miss out because we do share some cool stuff sometimes and help each other out. And I post my videos early in here when I get a chance to upload them early without any ads and with a little write-up. So if you come along, sign up. It's free to start with, or you can subscribe for as little as $4 Australian, $3 US a month. Every bit helps. And the more money you got in your pocket that you don't need, the more you can put in my pocket, the more recognition and support that you'll get from me. Don't get me wrong. I understand things aren't great for anyone at the moment. So that's why I'm doing this. But I do appreciate anything and everything you have to offer either way. Thanks again. Look forward to seeing you soon. Appreciate any input. I'll catch you guys in a week or two.